The rain had been falling for 3 days straight, turning the once peaceful town of Riverview into a nightmare of rising waters and broken roads. The river had swollen past its banks, devouring fields, cars, and homes alike. Sirens wailed in the distance, blending with the sound of thunder that cracked like the sky itself was breaking apart. Amid the chaos, Officer Daniel Reeves gripped the cold steering wheel of his patrol truck, staring at what used to be a quiet neighborhood, now submerged under a churning sea of brown floodwater. He had seen storms before, but nothing like this. And as his radio crackled with distress calls, one report cut through the static like a knife. Possible survivor, animal trapped near Old Mill Creek Bridge. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the unbreakable loyalty of animals, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Pawsitive Tales. It helps us bring you more stories that remind the world that compassion still matters, even in the darkest of storms. Daniel's tires screeched as he pulled up near the bridge. The water was roaring, a violent current carrying tree branches, debris, and broken pieces of people's lives. For a moment he hesitated. The bridge was barely standing. Then he saw it. Clinging desperately to a floating log was a German shepherd puppy no more than a few months old. Its fur was soaked, its eyes wide and terrified, one paw caught awkwardly in a tangle of rope. The small creature was seconds away from being swept under. Daniel didn't think, he acted. Stripping off his heavy vest, he tied a rescue line around his waist and shouted for backup. The current was strong, icy and merciless as he plunged in. The first wave nearly took him under, but he pushed forward, his muscles burning against the force. Every second felt like a lifetime. The puppy whimpered as the water slapped over its head, its tiny claws scraping the slick wood for grip. Daniel reached out, coughing, gasping, until his fingers brushed against the rough bark of the log. Lightning flashed across the sky, illuminating a sight that would stay with him forever. The puppy's trembling face, soaked and desperate, yet somehow still holding on to hope. With one arm, he grabbed the log. With the other, he reached for the pup. The rope around his waist went taut as his team pulled from shore, but the current fought back, pulling them both toward the drop where the bridge had collapsed. In a single, adrenaline-fueled motion, Daniel heaved the dog against his chest, shielding it as debris slammed against them. He could barely see. The water roared, and then a violent pull, a flash of pain, and everything went black. When Daniel woke up, he was on the muddy riverbank. His lungs burned as he coughed up water, and for a moment he didn't remember where he was. Then he heard it, the faint, broken cry of the puppy beside him. The little German shepherd was alive, trembling but breathing, wrapped in a soaked blanket as paramedics tried to warm it. Someone told him later that they had almost given up, until the dog's paw twitched and everyone broke into tears. Over the next few days, the story spread through Riverview. The flood had destroyed much, but in that moment, something beautiful had survived, a bond born out of courage and compassion. The town started calling the puppy Hope. She was taken to the local shelter, where veterinarians worked around the clock to help her recover. Her paw was fractured, and she had water in her lungs. But she was fighting, just like the man who had risked everything to save her. Daniel visited her every day after his shifts, sitting quietly beside her kennel. He didn't speak. He didn't have to. Hope would lift her head, her eyes softening as if she recognized the heartbeat that had carried her through the storm. It became routine. He'd bring her bits of food, talk about the people they'd saved, and just sit in silence when words weren't enough. Weeks passed. The town began rebuilding, neighbors helping neighbors, and somehow Hope became a symbol of their recovery. Her story appeared in the local paper. Officer rescues puppy from floodwaters. Hope survives. People started donating to the shelter. Children brought blankets. An old woman who had lost her home brought a box of treats, whispering that the little dog gave her a reason to smile again. But something unexpected happened as well. Daniel realized that saving Hope had saved him too. The flood had taken more than property. It had taken his peace. He had seen too many faces he couldn't reach in time, too many cries swallowed by the water. Every night the sound of rushing waves haunted his dreams. Yet every time Hope wagged her tail or pressed her nose against his hand, the nightmares faded a little. She didn't just survive, she healed him in ways he never thought possible. Months later, when the shelter finally declared Hope ready for adoption, there was no question who she belonged with. Daniel filled out the paperwork with trembling hands, unable to stop smiling. That day, as he clipped a new collar around her neck, engraved with her name and a tiny heart, she leaned in and licked his cheek, as if to say thank you. Together, they returned to the bridge, now repaired and quiet once again. The water flowed calmly beneath it, the memory of that terrible day now softened by time. Hope barked softly, tail wagging as if she too remembered. Daniel stood there, watching the sunlight dance on the surface, and whispered, "We made it, girl." From that day forward, Officer Daniel and Hope became inseparable. Whether he was on patrol or volunteering at rescue operations, she was always by his side, alert, loyal, unshakably brave. Locals began to recognize them, calling them the flood survivors. And every time someone stopped to ask about her, Daniel would smile and say, "She's not just a survivor. She's a reminder that even when everything seems lost, something good can still be saved." And it was true. Because sometimes the smallest lives hold the biggest lessons, that hope can float even in the roughest waters, and kindness can rebuild what storms destroy. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Pawsitive Tales. Your support helps us continue to tell true, emotional stories of courage, loyalty, and love between humans and animals. Special request in the comments. Share one act of kindness, big or small, that restored your faith in humanity. Your story might just inspire someone else to do the same.